Sakuems, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Emily. I'm a French artist and YouTuber. In this week's video, I'm going to do a review of the Artisa products. So before I jump into the video, I wanted to quickly say that yes, I have dyed my hair in purple, and yes, I do wear glasses now. Do I look very smart? Because I think I do. So yeah, hello, if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Hope you will stick around, and if you do enjoy my content, then don't forget to like this video and to subscribe, because I will do a giveaway when I reach 70k. So for Artisa products, I did a haul, but I didn't do a review yet. So hope you will enjoy this video. I have received some paper, I have also some pencils, I have also some water brushes, paints, and I want to do a little demo. I have actually did things a little bit differently because I wanted to show you everything, and then I did a live, like real-time clip of testing the product instead of just a time-lapse with voiceover. Hope you will enjoy the way I did this video. It's pretty unscripted, but I just figured I could try to do a little bit more of a vloggy type of content. Without further ado, let's just get into the video. So they sent me those real brush pen. They're basically water-based colored watercolor pen, like those. I have one tray out right here because I'm going to try to do a real-time kind of review instead of just a speed paint. So I have the 48 set. I think there's also a set that has 72, I'm not sure, but I will link in the description below the video the Artisa website. So they sent me that. They also sent me the watercolors premium, and I have some of them in a little palette that I will talk about that in a second. I also received the watercolor Woodless, what is it called? Woodless watercolor pencils. So there's a set of those, and I am trying to work with those in the little artwork. They also sent me a pack of 2 of the Arteza drawing pad premium paper. This is a 80-pound or 130 GSM paper, and this is larger than regular sizing here in France, because this is 9 by 12, so it's slightly bigger, and I actually really like the size of this paper, and I have been trying to do little artworks in that and sketches, and I really like it, and we'll talk about that after. And they also sent me the Artisa, the full set of the Fineliner pens, and they're really great quality too. There's a little bit of a downside to it. I will talk about that also in the video. They also sent me a set of 5 water brushes. I think there's like 2 large one, like flat, and then there's 3 regular pointed one. And they also sent this this watercolor pad. So this is the Artisa 32 sheets watercolor pad premium. I haven't tested it yet. I've tested pretty much every other tool besides the actual Woodless pencils and this paper. So yeah, let's just dive into it. If you want to see how the product performs and my thought about it, then keep on watching. So before I jump into making more progress into this art, I just wanted to give a little bit more information about Arteza. So they're basically a group of designers and artists. I'm reading this based on the website. They're apparently artists who decided to create a brand that was more affordable for every single artist, and it is kind of true that they're pretty inexpensive compared to the quality value. I think there's a great option of products as well, and yeah, and I was quite surprised of the quality itself of the product. Now, they're not like the best tool, of course. This is still more of a student quality. Even the premium content isn't that premium, but you get what you pay for, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you want to find out a lot more about the brand, you can check their website because they explain everything. But yeah, they do set a lot of things. There's some canvases, some paper, there's some different liners. I just want to test the product and see if they are actually really nice or not. I'm gonna try the different tools. I don't have anything really set in mind. I haven't really used pencils, watercolor pencils, in a very long time, so I don't know what to expect, but we'll see. What I really like about affordable tools is that it really makes it yeah, reachable for people to practice and to enjoy making art without the struggle of being able to afford things, because quite often quality tools are very expensive, and there's a reason for that. Mostly it's because how it's made is actually you know, a lot of the pigments and the process and everything, and the brand itself, you also pay for the brand. It is costing a lot of money. Like for example, canvases. I have some linen canvases, and they're quite expensive. But linen is also expensive, and just to make the actual canvas, I'm not surprised. But sometimes a lot of people are a little bit surprised about material costs. But having quality product to make art is an investment for sure. So not everyone can do that. Not everyone wants to do that as well. You may just want, it's maybe just a hobby for you. So you don't want to spend a lot of money just to have a hobby. And so I think it's pretty cool to have now access, or if you can, order online. If you have access to brands like Artisa, or Arteza, because now you can actually enjoy making art without investing too much or being afraid of, I don't know, I guess wasting the tools that you paid for. I find it sometimes before, when I was working with markers for the first time, I was a little bit scared because I didn't want to ruin my markers and just to waste the ink, because I wasn't that good at making anything with them. And so having affordable options would have been a nice thing for me to practice. And then once you feel comfortable, you can try to invest in a more advanced tools that have a bit more potential, I suppose. But still, like, to be honest, I just think that Arteza as a whole, the range is it's quite interesting, and it's not the best tool, but they're quite nice. I'm not really used to work with that kind of brush, so I don't know exactly what I'm doing, to be honest. They're very like actual bristle. It's not like the Tombow markers that have a more of a felt tip. This is actual bristle, like single bristles. It's very soft as well. I've noticed in a few of those that some of the bristle tend to be too loose, and so I had to pick them up. So they may lose a tiny bit of the bristle, and so keep that in mind. Although I do think it's happening in in a lot of different brands. In terms of blending for the water brushes, it's not the best. I wonder if it's because I've waited too much, or if I just have to overlap. Maybe just kind of overlapping will work out. Seems like it's, yeah, it is still blending if you come on top of that, but I'm not too sure about the control of the shading, and I don't know. I'm not a huge fan usually of actual bristles. I prefer either an actual brush and I can control the color because I know exactly what I'm putting, or I will use a direct tone with a more of a harder tip. I will probably just use watercolors and then my copic markers. However, maybe if you combine watercolors first and then you use the water brush on top, you can create nice texture. I think it's meant maybe to do that. So yeah, it is not also the best paper to blend, I suppose. This is a cold pressed paper, I think. Does it say cold pressed? Yeah, it is a cold pressed paper. So I usually go for hot pressed paper. Cold pressed paper, if you don't know, that basically it's made out of cellulose, not cotton based. So it is more forgiving in terms of lifting colors and trying to also, it doesn't penetrate as much, the paper itself, and it also is more of a, I don't know, it has some sort of coat to it, and so the paint doesn't go inside the paper. It makes it easier for certain effects like background effects, or if you have a very I don't know how I can explain that, but the way I worked with that when I was practicing watercolors, I had just cold pressed paper myself, and I didn't really like it as much because I couldn't really add more color without it lifting from the paper. And so with hot press paper, what I really like is that it really gets into the paper and you can build the opacity and build the layer. It just has more room to it, but it's also less forgiving because if you make a mistake, it stains the paper quite easily. Whereas a cold press paper, if I want, I can lift the color when it's still wet. So I don't know exactly how it's going to react with this ink. Is it actual watercolors or is it a water-based ink, which is not exactly the same. So let's see if I have one brush that has water. Yeah, this one has water. So those are like the Arteza water brush. There's actually 6 of those. I think I don't know where is the last one, but there is those with a flat end. I have 3 sizes. So there's like a medium, and large, and a small one. And then there is just the regular hand. It's kind of hard to show. Yeah, so I'm gonna try with the regular one, see how I can actually blend those roses in the background, and also how well the water, okay, I just splashed it, how well the water reacts to that. And if I can have a bit more fun, just like trying to blend it with the background. I'm not really trying to make anything really fancy. I'm just trying to test the product and see how it works. And there's just too much water and I don't have any tissue with me. Why? See what I mean by you can lift the color. If I just add water and I press, it removes the color. Now, it can be interesting in certain situations, but usually I'm not really a big fan of that because I don't like when my paper reacts that way. I don't like when the colors are lifted from it. So I'm not really a big fan of that, but it's just a preference. That doesn't mean the paper itself is a bad paper, you know, it's just purely what I prefer myself. So just keep that in mind if you want to use that paper to yeah, really wait for the paint to be completely dry before trying to put that on top. Let's just also use some of the blue for the background. Do we have a light blue? Yeah. I want to try to see how well I can, what does it say? Yeah, how well I can dissolve that and blend it to a lighter blue and to really make it a watercolor effect in the background. Maybe with like the actual, like one of the flat brushes. This is an interesting brush. Not really a big fan of that shape. I suppose it can work in certain, like I said, situation. Not really my thing. I do prefer the control of a regular brush, but I guess it can still be useful in certain, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have tried it, but it's a good set. Like, it's pretty inexpensive, so even if you just get the use of the free regular brushes, still I think it's a pretty good product to get from the Artisa website. So definitely try them out. I have tested other cheaper water brushes. The one I use the most is one of the most known is the Pentel brush. It's a good brush, but it's pretty expensive. I have tested alternatives for the Pentel brushes that I got from eBay, like from a Chinese web store, and they're pretty bad. So I wasn't really sure what to expect with the Artisa brush because they're really affordable and they were close in price range compared to this Chinese like off-brand thing that I've tried. So I was a little bit skeptical in terms of quality, and they are actually really nice. They're almost as good as a Pentel. They're thicker, it's easier to handle. Now if you have small hands, maybe it's going to be a bit of a struggle at first. But my hands are pretty small and I don't have any issues with that. So I think it's fair to say that it can work out still. And in terms of water flow, they are really nice. And what can I say as well? They hold a lot of water. The water brushes are really nice. Like if you want to try at least one product and you are using watercolors, then definitely take the water brushes, because I think those are the ones that I use the most in the tools at the moment. So definitely
check them out. In terms of blending, this paper is actually kind of nice. I haven't really used cold press paper in a while, as I said, so I'm not the best at it, but it's working nicely still. And the colors of this like Woodless colored pencil, like watercolor Woodless pencil, are really pigmented and nice. And I do have a line that shows, I can't really erase it entirely. That happens with a lot of pencils, like every single brand of watercolor pencil that I have, it does that. So it's not specifically an Artisa feature. As always, this is how watercolor pencil works, so nothing really surprising in this. So what else do I have here? I have this little leaves, and I think what I'm going to do after is just show a bit more about the actual watercolor themselves and give you a little bit more information about those and my thought about them, because I have used them in a previous artwork. So the watercolor pencils, the Woodless pencil, like I said, I only tested a few colors, but they're pretty nice. I wonder how well they can layer once this is dry and I come on top of it. But I think, you know, because it's Woodless, I also think they're pretty long lasting. I don't know how well they can sharpen, so I'm going to test this out right now, because I think it's pretty important for pencils if you can sharpen them as well or not. So this is my Mitsubishi KH20 2000 sharpener. I got this on Amazon and it's one of the best purchases I've ever done. So you just slide the pencil. Let's see how this can sharpen the pencil. I love that sound. Okay. Whoa, my goodness, that is sharpened. Okay, so they are really easy to sharpen. So if you want to get really tiny details, well, first of all, you need a sharpener, but they are, you know, pretty much one of the best pencils I've ever tried to sharpen. So that is pretty cool because I can really do tiny details. And just had, okay, I broke the lid, but that's because I'm pressing too hard. But still, like, you can get really precise and had some colors. This is still wet, but it does work. And then you can just come on top with the actual water and try to blend. Now, like I said, this is still pencil, so you will have some sort of texture. It's pretty hard to remove it entirely. So yeah, they're sharpened pretty easily. They are really seem like very pigmented, and I really enjoyed that. Now, I usually don't work with Woodless pencils, Woodless watercolor pencils, or watercolor pencil in general, but if you do like that, then you'll probably enjoy working with those. I don't know how to speak today. I haven't spoken English in a very long time, sorry guys. I haven't posted a video last week because I was away with family and it was pretty less notice, so I didn't have the time to actually make a video. So yeah, it's been a while since I've talked in English. Hope you don't mind. This video is a little bit unscripted because I just feel like I wanted to try something new and have it kind of like a chit chat, real talk, real time clip, because I don't know, it's just for a change. I think it's interesting, hopefully. So let's just take a look now at all their tools. So the paper is actually nice. I don't know if I will actually make a lot of artwork on that. I might try to work more on that paper because, I mean, I have it, so maybe like for little studies and everything like that can be nice. But it's pretty cool also to practice. It's inexpensive, like I said. You have like a giant, this is how many? 32 sheets. It's 140 pound, 300 GSM. It's a 9x12 as well, so pretty cool. The actual water brushes, I really like them actually. It's pretty hard for me to combine them with my other tools, but if you do enjoy this type of bristle, very fine and detailed, and you can add a lot of texture with them, I don't know, I think it's pretty nice. It would be also quite interesting to see with like a darker tone, like can I actually do little, you know, contouring and things like that. think it can be nice. Like, you have to get into them and just practice, because right now, like I said, it's a pretty rough, it's more like a colored sketch. This is not an actual artwork, but you can do pretty nice lines with that, so I think it can be interesting. Just need a bit more practice, but overall you can do great things with that, I think. So a good thing. Now, I don't think you need like a full collection. This is a 48 color selection. I've already did a little chart, and I have like a few colors that are too close to each other, so I don't think you need the entire set. It's the same for the fineliner as well. So yeah, let's take a look at the fineliner. I want to talk a bit more about those. So here is the box, and there's a lot of colors. This is in a metal, like a tin box like this. Really like that. What I wanted to mention with that, so I have used them also with copic markers, with watercolors. I have used them on different papers, and now I have good things about them to say, and I have a few downside to those. So the good thing is that pretty inexpensive. Also, there's a pretty large selection of colors, especially some pastels, which I love. There's a lot of different pastel tones, a lot of different pinks. So really like that. In terms of the quality of the product, they're pretty basic. It's just like a really like a barrel. There's nothing really fancy with that. The color is quite accurate from the cap, although with the different pinks it's kind of hard sometimes to differentiate them. So it's pretty important to have some sort of chart and to keep them in the same order as the chart, so you know exactly what to pick. But in most of the time when I have used them with different pinks, it doesn't really make any difference when you are using them. Like, just gonna grab some random colors here. If I'm using those 4 pinks, I'm gonna show you quickly what it is. This is just a little study. So this is a more like a salmon pink. This this one, I suppose, is just a tiny bit like, I don't know, a tiny bit darker, but nothing really special. This one is a lighter pink, and I think this one is more of a fuchsia. It's a slightly darker one, but it's pretty much the same color. There's not like a huge difference, so you don't need the full set. However, because I'm a huge fan of liners, if you do get the full set, you just have more colors to play with, and it's just more long lasting because you're gonna have pretty much a lot of pinks to use, you know, before having to buy a new one. But downside of those liners, they are water-based, so that means it's not the downside, but they are water-based. So if I come on top and I've used them with my watercolors, they will smudge. As you can see, they do smudge quite nicely, but you can still see the lines. I've used them in my Sweet Dough little artwork. I will link it in the corner. So they do smudge. But the downside that I had with those compared to my Staedtler fineliners, so those are the Staedtler fineliners Triplus. Those are more expensive. I think it's like twice the cost. However, they're also water-based, but the downside of the fineliners for Artisa, I don't know if any other artist had that happen to them, is that it's pretty hard to layer them. I had a hard time combining them with other tools, because once I was pressing, if I was adding too much, they will start to eat the paper, and acting like those cheap markers when you try to color on regular paper. It's almost like they're speckles of paper, and so I couldn't really add as much as I like to have on my drawings. I had to stop at one point and just use my colored pencil to finish the line work, because without, I don't know if it's the paper, but basically as I was adding more and more, it started to, I don't know, to eat the paper. I think it's fair to say that it might be the paper, because I've used one that I used for my copic markers, but I don't know, it felt kind of strange. Just keep in mind that you can't overlay as much with them, so if you want to use them for line work, try to keep that in the last thing you do, and try to not add too much like different coats of the same color on top of each other, because it's going to be, after all, it's just the paper is not going to like it as much. I think they might work better on watercolor paper, so keep that in mind, but they're still really nice. Like, overall the product is really amazing, and especially for the price, so do recommend also the fineliners. Now the last thing I wanted to test and talk about is Arteza Watercolor Premium. So I have tested them out in 2 artworks, and I'm gonna just dig this box. So there are the premium one, there's 24 colors, and I have tested them out in 2 different artworks. Now I have good things to say as well and bad things to say. So good thing is that the selection, the color selection is pretty nice. There is everything that you need. They are really nicely packaged, they're easy to use, they do have a lot of pigments. However, I have 2 downsides for those watercolors. I don't know if it's doing the same with every other brands. I have this palette because this is what I did basically. I've used them and they do feel like gouache, not actual watercolors as much as I was hoping for. They do have this very opaque matte finish, and I prefer where there's a little bit more of a glossy finish to watercolors. They do also break easily. I was hoping to use that as a palette, but as you can tell, they pretty much like crumble and I can't really use them anymore. And this happens with gouache. So I have a feeling that those are not purely pigmented, like I don't know the formula, but it doesn't feel like watercolors. However, they do have a lot of pigments and they're easy to use and they still act as watercolors. Also, one of the downsides that I didn't enjoy is that I don't think they're very long lasting, because I have used this paints in 2 artworks and I already made a pretty big dent into the pink color. It's rose actually, and I already used like a third of it, and I still have some in my palette, but like I said, because it really crumbled, it's pretty hard to use now. So I'm not really sure about the longevity of the paint, because like I said, they do feel a lot like gouache. They still act as watercolors, so it's not like it's a bad side, like it's not a bad set of watercolors, but I have a hard time believing it's premium quality. Because usually high-end watercolors, they do have a lot of pigment and they're really long lasting, and you don't make such a dent even if you use them a lot in a new artwork. So I do, like I said, enjoy still those. And if you haven't used watercolors before and you don't own any set, this is still a good beginner set, and you can still make interesting things with that. And see if I can actually reuse this palette, because I have a hard time believing that. But it seems like it can still work out. It's just that I don't really like how they feel because of all the specks and the crumbles. It's pretty hard to use after. It's better to use them liquid. And usually watercolors, you can get them out of the tube and actually like let them dry, and you can still reuse them afterwards. So because of all of those little crumbles, it's pretty hard to reuse them. So do not, like, basically if you use those paints, try to use them liquid and not wait for them to be dried like that, because then you can't do much more with those, which is kind of sad. Like, I can still use it, but it's just not like how I really like. They still have a nice pigment to it, it's just not as pigmented as high-end watercolors. The watercolor set, not a big fan, but like I said, if you don't own any watercolors, it's still a good beginner set for the price and the color range. So still recommend that, but it's not the best, and I'm not like a huge fan of it. Definitely check the website. They do have good products. It's just a lot of trial and errors. There's some that are really nice, some are not the best, but overall the range is quite nice. So definitely check Arteza. And thank you to Arteza for sending all of that. And if you wish to basically help me get to the 70K giveaway, then don't forget to subscribe, and also to tell everyone you know to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to share my videos and everything, because once I reach 70K, I will of course give away some of the product that I received recently. I have Artisa product, I also have some markers, I have a lot of things that I want to give. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, and if you did like this video, then don't forget to thumbs up, and also tell me in the comment section if you have tried Artisa product, do you like them or not, and yeah, what is your favorite tools that they have in their shops. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what I had to say for this video. It was on the longer side, but it's a review, so I mean I had to say a lot of things. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye guys!